Hello everyone! Today a theory crafting video for a change. We're gonna explore stuff most of you may have already heard about, but go in depth to decide the most objectively the stuff you should aim for. Before we dive into statistics you can control, let's talk about those you can't. The power is one of the 8 core attributes. This attribute defines a character's core physical strength. Power enters in the formula for physical damage. You can find the power of all classes on Gameforge class description page. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the innate attack speed of weapons. It is displayed as attack per second on your character profile. No matter how many attack speed buff you stack, you cannot go below half of this value. Long story short, you're capped at 50% attack speed. For example, a ranger with malform reaches the cap and doesn't need attack speed scroll because of this. Critical strike is the stat you should look for in priority as a physical class. How it works is straightforward. 10 crit equals 1% chance of crit on your auto attack and your skills. The cap is at 500, in short 50%. I know some of you heard of 440. This cap used to exist, but the formula changed. It's obsolete. There are 2 countermeasures to critical strike, strike resist and strike fortitude. Strike resist is easy to understand. Each point of strike resist you have removes 1 point of critical strike to the player attacking you. There is no cap to how much strike resist you can have, but the ways to get it are limited. Natively, you can only find it on necklaces, earrings, rings, and wings. The main way to get a high value of it is to enchant your armor. A plus 10 top will give you 40 strike resist, legs 30, other parts 20. All in all, the maximum someone can get, if we think about a full plus 15 armor set and the accessories with strike resist, you can go as high as 264 strike resist. This means that in the worst case scenario, you would have to get 764 crit to stay at a 50% crit rate. Realistically, you'll rarely meet someone who was lucky enough to plus 15 everything, and when I do my own Theorycraft, I usually take 150 strike resist as an average estimate of what my opponent will have. This is why I personally try to get 500 crit without any buff, so I can get close to 700 with scrolls, food, and skills. Strike fortitude is the second way to mitigate crit strikes. While strike resist reduces the crit chance of your opponent, strike fortitude reduces the damage of crit strikes on yourself. By reading the formula, you may have the impression that strike fortitude is bad. If you do the maths, you'll soon realize it's actually pretty strong. As an example, if a ranger crits on you for 4000 damage, knowing that the bow multiplier for crit hits is 1.7, it means that the non-crit version would have been 2353 damages. If I have wings, a hat, and a belt with strike fortitude, I can easily get around 150 strike fortitude. If you apply the formula, the new crit multiplier would be 1.56 instead of 1.7, which leads to a 3682 damage crit instead of a 4001. That's a 8% damage reduction with just 3 pieces of armor. For this part, I use Muse thread on the Gameforge forum. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out. Whether physical attack hits for full damage, if at all, you compare attacker's accuracy stat to target's defensive stat, evasion, parry, block. All of them use formula def stat minus accuracy divided by 10, so having 10 higher block gives 1% chance to block attacks, 100 higher block for 10% chance to block. Evasion can dodge attack, avoiding all damage, and any additional crowd control effects from the attack, capped at maximum 30% chance. So having more than 300 evasion above enemy accuracy will not give more benefits. Parry can parry attack, reducing damage taken about half, around minus 50%, capped at maximum 40% chance. So having more than 400 parry above enemy accuracy will not give more benefits. Block can block attack while wielding a shield in offhand, greatly reducing damage taken depending on shield, up to pretty high percents like minus 70%, if not higher depending on shield enchant level, capped at maximum 50% chance. So having more than 500 block above enemy accuracy will not give more benefits. When a physical attack is incoming, the order of checks is evade, max 30% chance, parry, max 40% chance, block, max 50% chance. This is when we enter the subjective part. You have to imagine how much parry/block/evasion you'll meet in PvP in the worst case scenario, and adjust your accuracy to it. From my experience on NA Classic, a cleric level 55 can reach 3k block, but since we're level 50 for now, it doesn't really apply. After trying some configurations on a simulator, a cleric 50 in an endgame scenario can reach 2200 block, which means you would have 20% block when you hit him. What I can tell you is that for Tahabata, I would aim for 2000 accuracy to make sure every hit lands, and it seems high enough to be good in PvP too. The downside of accuracy is that when your opponent didn't invest in one of these three stats, their main defensive measure, your accuracy becomes useless. That's why you don't want to aim for the worst case scenario when you socket, but target an accuracy that would be high enough for 90% of the player base, and the 10% that are fully optimized will be harder to kill. Attack is where most of the decision making takes place. I will cover this topic thoroughly so you can understand my reasoning, but the final choice will still be yours. The best way to think about the problem is the physical damage formula. I removed the edge cases of the formula to make it simpler. In the bonus category enters everything that is not enchantment: skill buffs, power shards, mana stones, bonus stats below your gear, food mantras, titles, etc., etc. What is not really shown in here is that almost all the skills buffs you can think about are based on your base plus enchant attack and completely ignore your mana stones, bonus stats lines, or any other source of attack, which makes it already less interesting to socket attack. The bonus attack is still multiplied by the crit multiplier though. One more thing to take into account is that in PvP any damage is reduced by 58%, which turns all your attack plus 5 mana stones into attack plus 2 if you think about it. For the sake of clarity, an example. If you hit a mob for 100 damage with an auto attack, and you socket 1 attack plus 5, you will then hit for 105 damage, which means your mana stone is used to its full effect. In PvP, the 100 damages hit is reduced by 58%, meaning it will only deal 42 damages. The 105 damage hit becomes a 44.1 damages. Conclusion is that your mana stone became a plus 2 attack. Attack speed is the ultimate criteria for me to decide if attack mana stones are worth for you. A Sin with plus 50% attack speed can reach 100 attacks a minute, while a Ranger is limited to 50. It means in 1 minute a Sin will make use of the attack mana stones he socketed twice more than a Ranger. That's why attack mana stones are not an obvious choice. It heavily depends on how fast you attack, on if you decide to be more of a glass cannon or a marathon man. Let's continue with the Ranger as an example. Ranger is a class which relies on burst and a bit of crowd control to PvP. Against geared enemies, 1 round of burst will not be enough to get the kill. This is where you can take the decision to either socket attack, to end it in 1 round, or socket defensive mana stones, like HP or magic resistance, so that you can survive long enough to get to round 2 of your burst. The choice is yours, but if you want my opinion, attack in PvP is only worth on dual-wielding classes such as Sin and Glads. In PvE, everyone benefits from it, and you don't really need to socket anything else as long as you have the 2k accuracy I mentioned, so it's a good filler. This video is an introduction to a series of videos I want to make about endgame gear. I'll do it class by class. If you want me to do a specific class first, just write it in the comments below. And don't worry mages, I'll talk about you too.